It is 10 degrees Fahrenheit out here on this wonderful winter day. One of my friends accidentally slid into a curb and broke her tire. You can see that the CV axle in there is broken, as well as the knuckle, and a couple other things are bent. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to change it out. Got the tire off now, got the car supported up, and you can see right here that the steering knuckle is broken. Completely snapped off right there. And then back in here, you can see that the CV axle is also snapped right out of that little holder that it's in, right next to the engine mount. We just need to make sure that this line right here doesn't have a whole lot of tension on it, because the caliper can't support its own weight. So I'm going to strap that up so I don't have to worry about it. So right here in the rotor there's a little cotter pin. So I've taken the cotter pin and bent up the little edge of it so it's straightened out. And then I can grab it from the underside and just wiggle it on out of there. Okay, so now there's a big old nut right in the middle of that wheel that's attached to the CV axle. So we need to take it out. I have a big old breaker bar, and without air tools, sometimes that nut can be stuck on pretty tight. So you can get another, like a hollow bar, and stick it over the end of that to extend your leverage and lift it up and get enough force to actually break loose that nut. Luckily for me, this bar was enough. So now that nut inside of there is coming loose. So I took the tire, put it back on, attached 2 lug nuts to it, and then set it back down again so it wouldn't spin while I was trying to rotate the nut off. It held the tire in place so that I could remove the whole thing. Now I'm gonna jack up the car, take the tire back off, and then work on getting the rest of the broken parts off. So the CV axle is this guy right back here, and it is the thing that is connected right inside of here with this nut. So what I've done is I've taken this nut and put it right on the edge of the bolt like that, so I can hit it with the hammer and not damage any threads. So if I take my hammer, it's pushing that right back through. And this car, amazingly, isn't that stuck. Just a couple light taps and it started to feed all the way through. So now that it's moving, I can just remove this nut the rest of the way, pound it through, and that will release the rest of the contraption from the broken CV axle. So this is the part where the CV axle goes into the transmission, and you just gotta make sure that this is the old one right now, so you can see how flush it is. When you pull the new one out, it's gotta be that same, stuck as far in there as you can. All right, so I missed a step. But to get the top part of the knuckle out, there are 2 bolts right up here at the top that are 22 millimeters. And so I put my wrench on one side, my ratchet on the other side, and just kind of twisted them counterclockwise to get that top part out. And this is the part that was broken. So once those 2 nuts were out, I just pulled that right out. Now we're gonna come in here, get that castle nut off. Now normally when you're replacing the CV axle, it's not going to mess with your alignment very much, unless you of course hit something, and then you will probably be off of your alignment, because the alignment's done off of whether the components in the car are straight or off of this part right here, which is they adjust these little nuts and it makes your alignment on or off. Alright, so this nut right here is on where the steering connects to the actual knuckle of the car. So I'm going to release this cotter pin right here and then take off this castle nut, and then that'll allow me to separate this shaft from the knuckle itself. Quick rant here for a second. The hardest part of this whole job, the CV axle's not that bad. The hardest part of this job is that the knuckle's broken right here. And so when I try to twist any nut, like let's say this nut back here on the caliper, the whole thing kind of shifts. Like the whole thing rotates so that I can't get any traction anywhere with it. Now, what I've done to fix this problem is taken a huge crowbar, put it right back in there. The crowbar is this guy, one that says Pittsburgh on it. And I have propped it up with my leg here. And then when I try to rotate this, instead of going forward, it just rests itself on the crowbar, which allows me to take off these nuts. So That one I've just barely got it spinning. Obviously I can't hold the camera, support the car, and twist the nut, but I'm pretty proud of myself. So once I get this nut off and the other one, hopefully I can get that off by just the same position as well, then we'll be able to remove the caliper from the knuckle itself and hopefully be able to get the new knuckle on there and keep moving forward. So as I'm trying to do that lower nut on the caliper where that ratchet is, right here, the breaker bar, I had to take the crowbar and pin it underneath the frame down in there and over the top of this joint right here, and kind of just press down on both of those at the same time to get the right levers that I needed. So yeah, it's working out pretty well. Okay, I finally got the caliper off, and that kind of leaves us more room to deal with the bottom ball joint. So I have the cotter pin lifted up, and I'm going to slide that out through the castle nut, pop the castle nut off, and then separate the broken knuckle from the ball joint, and then finally pop this end off as well. I already have the nut down off the other side. I actually just had 3 cop cars pull up, wondering what the heck I'm doing behind the big O tires at 1 o'clock in the morning when it's 7 degrees out. They actually pulled up from this side, and then another guy came up from over there thinking I was stealing something. But nope, it's just finals week, and Sunday at midnight is the only time that I can work on cars. So right here, as I'm trying to get off that bottom ball joint, I have this thing right here called a Titman puller. And so basically what it does is this little guy right here screws and unscrews. And so as I tighten it down onto the top of this bolt right here, it's going to pull the knuckle up because it has these claws down there at the bottom. So hopefully that pulls it up and out of the way, because with how loose everything is, because everything's broken, there's no good way to hit that or pry it off. Even if I had like a pickle fork or something to stick between there, it wouldn't really work out very well. Alright, got everything disconnected. Pretty stoked about it. That little Titman puller down there did a great job pulling off that busted knuckle. Alright, so now I just need to pull off the rest of that CV axle. So this is half of it right here, and the other half is still inside of there, attached to the engine mount, and you can see the very back of there, it's attached into the transmission. My Mountain Dew froze. So that is where we connect into the transmission, and this is where it is bolted onto the engine mount. So in order to get this part out of the engine mount, you have to remove this little pinch bolt right here, which kind of sticks it up inside of there. Then what I did is I took a can of that PV blaster, which is that guy over there, sprayed it up all around this opening on the inside, because sometimes this little gizmo, whatever this is, seizes up inside. And then after that, took my little cat's paw right here and put it up inside of that little opening right there, and then hit it a couple times with my handy dandy sledgehammer. And then after I hit it, then it popped out. I've seen a couple other YouTube videos where they took out this engine mount. That seems like an incredible amount of work, and I don't have any power tools. So, brute force and some PV blaster did the trick for me. So, there's that. Also, I took, this is kind of a little pinch thing that's holding it up inside this groove right here. If you just grab both of those with the pliers and pinch it shut, that releases it from the groove, and then you have to transfer this over to the other CV axle. Anyways, now that that is out, I'm going to grab the new CV axle, clean up the inside of this, and then press it back into place. Alright, here's a little trick I learned from Eric the Car Guy. He's another YouTuber. Post a link for his channel right here. He knows quite a bit about cars. Anyway, so he says to line both of the CV axles up together and check to see if they're the same one, which is a great idea, because when I got to about here, I can tell that my CV axle, the one that broke, doesn't have this, which happens to be the ABS little gear sensor thingy. So I have to wait till tomorrow morning so I can swap that out to get the one that I need. Here's a sway bar, and this is actually the easiest part of the whole deal. All you have to do is take off this 14mm bolt here, 14mm bolt on the side right here, and then the whole thing just pops right out. If the bolt on the inside of the sway bar starts spinning when you're trying to unscrew it, just kind of grab the sway bar and kink it sideways so it pinches the bolt in the metal bracket, and then that'll let you get this off the end of it. Because when it's pinched inside the bolt like that, it won't spin around. Alright, so these are the sway bars right here, the sway bar links. You can see with the new ones, they're a lot thicker than the old ones are. I'll put all of the parts and stuff in the video description below, so if you need to replace this on your vehicle, it'll be a lot easier to find it. I usually do Amazon. Amazon is the cheapest place to get this kind of stuff. To get the sway bar on, there's a little nut right here on the side that you can just get on, and then you can continue ratcheting it down with the other side over there. So you hold it still with this one, ratchet it with the other one. And we're off to a good start this morning. The CV axle, I just took it and gently pressed it into place. And it looks like it is sitting exactly where it needs to. You're going to put in the bottom bolt right here. You're going to want to make sure to do this before you put the CV axle in place, because you can't get that nut on there once it's all put back together. Ask me how I know. Alright, got these top 2 bolts in. Got the king nut and the cotter pin through here. Now I'm going to take the caliper and put that back on the bolts that it was on before. Alright, got this final nut in place. It's not tightened down as far as it'll go yet. I'm going to wait till I get the tire back on and then drop it down and then finish tightening it up. But we're all finished on the inside. Caliper bolts are tightened down as far as they can go. And there you have it. I replaced the CV axle. Anyway, I will list all the parts and stuff you need in the video description below, so take a look at that. List the sway bars, CV axle, everything else. If you have any other questions, make sure to leave them in the comments. Like this video if it helped you, and don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching.